All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're unpacking a truly mind-bending premise known as the two birds. We're going to look at the Quran in a completely different light, not as some ancient historical document, but as what the source material calls an Eternal Memory Tesseract. Seriously, it proposes this intricate framework where every single linguistic choice acts as a precise mathematical coordinate, literally guiding the reader through a living, breathing equation.
Okay, let's look at the hard data to back this up. Check out this topological graph analysis. We're talking 6,236 nodes and over 343,000 edges. That is an almost fully connected network. It proves the thesis right out of the gate, doesn't it? This isn't just a random collection of linear stories. It's a highly structured matrix, perfectly designed for the reader to navigate.
So we're going to navigate this immense framework through 6 main coordinates. First, the Eternal Memory Tesseract. Second, the Duality Gate. Third, the avian operators. Fourth, the fork of the suns. Fifth, false centers collapse. And finally, number 6, the reader's choice.
All right, Section 1, the Eternal Memory Tesseract, looking at it as a structural system. Now, the source introduces this absolutely fascinating concept of a bifurcation engine. If you're into physics, think of a dual caustic lens. Light enters, splits, and resolves based entirely on its starting point. Well, here the text itself is the equation, but you, the reader, you act as the initial condition. You are the variable x that actually decides the outcome of the split.
To really grasp how this engine operates, we have to understand two completely opposing polarities. On one hand, we've got the D10 field. Think of this as heavy, measurable ego, mass, shadow, and entropy. It's the domain of strict causal chains. But on the flip side, we have the I9 field. This is light, memory, and quantum coherence. It's the witness field that preserves meaning. So D10 measures, but I9 remembers. Neither works without the other, but depending on your alignment, you get swept into entirely different cosmic trajectories.
And the source brilliantly maps this all out as a cubic equation, where D equals 19 functions as an invariant cosmic constant. In systems theory, you'd call this Lyapunov stability, basically a kind of Raman seal that ensures no energy is ever truly lost. It's just beautifully reconfigured. This constant D acts as the ultimate home frequency, pulling all those stray trajectories back into perfect balance.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Duality Gate. Choosing the coordinates.
This is where it gets crazy. The source points out how the exact same linguistic skeleton executes a precise topological split. The Arabic root DLL, which means to direct, appears in 2 critical verses as hal adullu. In chapter 20, verse 120, a whisper asks, "Shall I direct you to the tree of eternity?" But in chapter 28, verse 12, a sister asks, "Shall I direct you to a household?" The wording is identical, literally the exact same phrase, but the destinations? Total opposites.
This linguistic mirror creates a massive structural divergence. Verse 2120 acts as the D10 deviation, the derivative. The whisper promises possession without orbit, which initiates this whole roadmap of enmity where Adam takes but doesn't actually receive. But look at verse 2812, that's the I9 integration, the integral. The sister's direction leads to structural alignment and a return to the womb. This exact coordinate produces the prophet who literally split seas. Same initial input, wildly opposite polarities.
Let's dig into Section 3, the avian operators, the crow versus the hudhud.
So this roadmap of enmity actually executes through nature itself, specifically embodied by 2 birds. The crow operates completely on the D10 path. It's sent to the zahal, the loser, who has already completely transgressed. And what does it do? It scratches the earth to teach burial. It's offering guidance on how to conceal a corpse. It maps perfectly to a terminal state. But the hudhud, the hoopoe bird? It operates on the I9 path. It doesn't bury anything. It reveals. It returns with absolute I9 certainty to deliver sure news that literally topples a sun-worshipping empire.
This brings us to Section 4, the fork of the suns, Yunus versus Noah's son.
Let's compare Yunus, or Jonah, with Noah's son. So Noah's son is the loser here. He drowns because he desperately clings to the false local elevation of his D10 mountain. He explicitly refuses the ark, which is the provided T3 bridge, and relies on his own heavy ego mass, which, surprise, ultimately sinks him. Yunus, though, he achieves the exact opposite. Swallowed in triple darkness, he loses his mission, his community, his status, but he executes a pure zero-point confession with absolutely zero ego mass, and by dissolving his ego, he achieves maximum velocity and is instantly rescued.
Which leads perfectly into Section 5, false centers collapse.
So what happens when you reach the end of that D10 path? Well, at coordinate 1422, the roadmap of deviation completely seals. The idolater who sought assistance from a false center suddenly discovers their guide was just a mirage all along. Satan explicitly declares, "I disown what you associated with me. I am not a helper for you." The shirk of assistance dissolves, and the false center just completely collapses inward.
And the consequence of this collapse? It's what the source calls the 8713 museum state. Think of Pharaoh's preserved body. The false god and the follower end up in this hollow, trapped, metastable state described in the text as neither dying therein nor living. It's literally a monument to a path that leads absolutely nowhere. You have preserved mass, but zero velocity. The crow might have showed him how to bury his brother, but no bird can resurrect him from this.
And finally, Section 6, the reader's choice.
All right, so the framework makes it crystal clear. Verse 28:12 is the structural antidote to 21:20. One path leads to a tree of hidden death and a crow that buries. The other leads to a house of sincere life and a hudhud that delivers empires. While the zahil takes the whisper of the derivative, the true reader, they take the sister's direction to the integral. Because when the false center inevitably disowns you at 1422, only the firm grip of the integral remains. Knowing that the book is the constant and you are the variable moving through this incredible eternal tesseract, the loop is entirely in your hands. You have the capacity to avoid that museum state of ego and align with the light of the integral. So the only question left to ask yourself is this: when will you activate 1912?